Hello everyone, and welcome to a new video of my channel. In the previous video we looked a game of this modern line of the Queen's Gambit declined, and we will continue in the topic with a different reaction from Black. So let's see. In this game we have Blauberger with the white pieces and Lumaki with the black pieces, and it was played in the World Junior Championship this year, so it's a very fresh game. So d4, d5, c4, e6, knight c3, knight f6, takes, bishop g5, c6, e3, h6, bishop h4, bishop e7, bishop d3, castle, knight g2. Everything is according to the main line, according to the course. P8, castles, knight bd7, and this a4 is our starting position. So in the previous video I explained why this a4 is an interesting idea, and basically it became a very serious choice for white in this particular variation. And we looked what happens if black blocks on the queen side with a5. And today we are going to see a different reaction from black, which was knight h5, which was played in this game. Of course, it pretty much forces us to trade the bishops, bishop e7, queen e7. And now I would say that we don't really have a huge choice. So, for example, it's hard to even recommend an alternative to a5. So that's really just an important positional move to make. So black managed to, for the time being, stop our f3 ideas because of a huge pressure on the e pawn. So if we try to prepare for it with moves like knight c1 or rook e1, then at some moment black is just playing a5, and it's not really ideal to allow it. So yeah, a5 is extremely logical, and basically all the games are going like this. And here black has different options. In this game, queen g5 was played, which is an unusual move, I would say, but it's not so easy to find the best way for white. So the other moves for black are a6, for example. It's very logical to eliminate a6 ideas from white. So a5 is not only preventing a5, but ourselves we are threatening with a6. So the idea of a6 is to create a weakness on c6, and if black, of course, plays a6, then it will not happen. Of course, this move also have some drawbacks. The dark squares on the queen side are quite weakened, and of course, sometimes if a knight can go to c5, that can be quite unpleasant for black. So that's one option. Another one, which for example was played by Magnus Carlsen, is knight d2 f6. So this is the start of one of the basic ideas of black in this variation. So black wants to play g6, knight to g7, and then to play bishop f5 and trade our good bishop for the bad bishop on c8. So that's another move which we will hopefully look some games like that very soon. But okay, in today's video it's queen g5. So the move looks pretty logical. As I said, black wants to do something in the king side, which is pretty normal in this opening, and also he still keeps big pressure on e3. So it's not so easy to prepare f3, e4. And yeah, the queen doesn't look too bad on g5, I have to say. So it looks like a normal move. And yeah, I analyzed this game for quite a while, and at the beginning I gave to the game continuation a6 an exclamation mark, because basically I mean, my understanding was that if black is not playing a6, it's very useful for us to play a6 and create the weakness on c6. But after analyzing for a while, I am not sure anymore, and my conclusion is rather that it's maybe even an inaccurate move to play a6 at this moment. White is probably still better, but it has to be he has to be extremely precise. So okay, black doesn't really have many options in this position. B takes a6 is the textbook bad move. Bishop takes a6, and black is left with the weak pawns. It's basically like we did a minor attack, but it's kind of 1 against 3. So the a pawn attacked the 3 pawns and created weaknesses. I mean, this is just bad. And b6, which looks like a normal move, is actually also fails to achieve a decent position, because now there is a weakness on c6 and white can take advantage of it immediately with nice move e4. So we are opening the center to get access to this weakness. Now we have the threat of pushing f4 and then e5, so completely pushing back our opponent. So it's basically not possible to allow d4, then knight takes e4, coming with the tempo on the queen. And let's say queen e7, rook e1 is a very unpleasant position for black. So this pawn can get under attack by rook c1 or queen c2. Also, this knight is misplaced. We have knight g3 ideas to expose the queen on e7, and for example, a nice way to lose the game as black is to play knight df6. I'm not sure if there are multiple ways to win the game here, but there is one, so maybe you can stop the video and try to find. So the move is knight 2 to g3, kind of a unique position. So if knight takes on g3, then knight f6 check. Queen is under attack, and if queen takes, then rook takes e8 is actually a mate. If the knight takes on e4, then we take back with the rook, tempo on the queen, and the knight will fall on h5. And otherwise, we have a simple threat of knight f6 and knight takes h5. So there are no defense here for black. But as it was played in the game, there is a very strong move for black, which is b5. And things are far from clear here. So b5 looks anti-positional compared to b6, but the position is concrete at this moment. So the point of b5 that e4 is not possible now because there is b4. So obviously the knight is hanging now, and if the knight moves, then d4, and we are losing a pawn. It's simply not possible to play. So yeah, we need something else. In the game it was knight c1, and it worked very well, but black did not react in the proper way. So yeah, probably let's start with the game continuation. So if knight c1, in the game black went knight f6, just bringing more pieces to the king side, but there was nothing there, as we will see. So this strategy failed. But there is a move knight b8. Looks very ugly and greedy, but I mean that a6 pawn is very important. And if black can take that pawn and then later bring back the knight somewhere, play a6, he's up a pawn there, and white definitely will have compensation. So maybe I could compare this to the Catalan, when white is, many times sacrificing a pawn, just in the situations when there is a black pawn on c4 and white undermines it with b3 and then cb ab, and there are huge compensation on the c file and the a file. So basically something very similar we can get. I mean, let me just make a move here, like knight b3, for example, knight takes a6. So you can see this weak square, this weak pawn, but black will go back to b8, play a6. It's not that easy, I mean, to assess that position. It's pretty complicated. So yeah, that would have been critical, and I'm not sure what white was planning. Maybe just again to play for this long-term compensation. It's fine, but again, I don't believe that white is like better or something like that. So I was looking at many different possible improvements for white in this position. It's already not so easy to save this pawn on a6. So that was my main goal, to find something how to save that pawn. So for example, a logical move is queen d2, knight goes to b8, rook a5. So now if bishop a6, then everything is very simple. We play rook f to a1, and once the bishop moves, we just take on a7 with a much better position. But there is a tricky way here. Knight takes on a6, rook f to a1. First it looks similar with the knight, so that the knight has to move, but the knight goes forward to b4. And here the natural looking rook takes a7 is actually a very serious mistake, because rook takes on a7, rook a7. And here there is knight takes d3, queen takes on d3. Knight takes d3 looks like a very bad exchange for black, because we are very close to a bad bishop good knight position. But here comes the tactical justification. So bishop h3, extremely strong move. g3 we cannot really afford, because the queen will come and checkmate. And once knight g3, which looks like a nice defense, black has this pretty nice move of knight f4, attacking on g2 two times, and basically winning the pawn, since e takes f4. Rook e1 is unplayable. Knight f1 is made on g2, and queen f1 obviously just losing the queen. So it's a pretty long line, but it's pretty important for the evaluation of the possession. So this natural queen d2 is possible, because once again, just let me go back to this position. So we are not forced to take on a7. We can play a move like knight c1, for example. And then we again have this possessional compensation, but this is not what I was looking for. So that's queen d2. Other similar move is queen c2, again with the idea of bringing the rooks to the a file. But this fails in a much more simple way, because now knight b4 is up on the queen. So this is completely not good. And then there was this kind of strange looking recommendation of the computer of queen b3. And I believe this is the best move in this position. But it looks like a necessity. So it's not like we are very happy to put the queen there, but in order to save the a6 pawn, and I believe it's important to save it, queen b3 is a kind of important move. So here black goes knight b8. We go rook a5. So now, yeah, there is also, of course, bishop takes a6 or knight takes a6. So let's see what happens if the knight takes on a6. We go rook a1, sorry, and everything looks very simple, because the knight cannot come to b4, and if the knight cannot come to b4, then and has to go back, then we just take on a7 with a huge advantage. So that's clear, because there will be just a weak c6 pawn and so on. But the line is not finishing here. There is this crazy rook takes e3. So creating absolute mess on the board. And if we would take this rook, then there is queen e3, king f1, queen d3. And even though it looks like that we will end this variation with an extra piece, black has this nice move of b4, and actually it's black who is going to have extra material here and the winning position. So this doesn't work. White has to play h4. So now the queen has to keep contact with the rook to be able to recapture on e3. So queen e7, and now bishop takes b5. Really, I am just showing these lines because it's absolutely incredible, what is happening here. An alternative solution of the computer, by the way, is knight takes d5. I don't really like that, but it's also interesting. But after bishop b5, I believe white is eventually getting a better position. So cb5, and now queen d5. And black has suddenly actually all pieces almost hanging. So rook is hanging from the pawn, this knight is hanging, this rook is hanging, and rook a6 is also material winning threat. So knight c7, queen h5. Also very nice that the queen is protecting back on the knight. Rook to e6, rook a7, and yeah, this is a better position for white. It's an extra pawn. So yeah, of course, this is good. So, but yeah, the line is pretty complicated, and far from easy to find these moves. There is also bishop takes on a6, and yeah, basically this is just very simple, as I said. So yeah, knight takes a6 is the critical test of this rook a5. But yeah, on queen b3, it's also not an absolute must for black to go knight b8. So again, it's a little bit of a too deep analysis, even I would say, but just to understand that this is like far from easy, this position. So basically, with queen b3, we misplace our queen to have some tactical protection of the a6 pawn, but in this situation, maybe this knight can come to f6. Black has ideas like bishop to h3, and our queen is like misplaced now, and the queen would be really nice on d2. Sometimes rook e3 ideas are in the air. Again, I will show a little bit further in this line because there is a very nice idea and some interesting concept, but in general, I don't like this so much anymore. So now I would try to immediately put the queen to a better place, let's say to c2, and now black is playing bishop h3. This looks like a little bit silly move actually, because white has knight to g3. But what is good to know that this structure, what we have now, is much worse in this Carlsbad than to have the, so to say, perfect pawn formation with the pawn on h2. And the reason for that is that once the bishop goes back to d7, we cannot really control this g4 square. So like with h3, for example, and this knight to g4, queen h5 is a very simple yet very effective idea from black. And also this g3 pawn gives a hook, and so that means that h5, h4 is a very serious threat from black. Of course, knight g4 is even more serious, but h5, h4 also. So what is important that this type of structure normally, it also makes f3, e4 more difficult. I believe that I explained in a previous video, because then after the fe, the pawns will be isolated on the g file. So it has both concrete and long-term issues. There is one nice move here for white, which still keeps some advantage probably. If you would like, you can stop the video and try to find this move. It's pretty nice. We desperately need a defender on the king side, and that's a knight on f3, knight to b1. Fantastic move, and we are just in time. So if h5 is coming, then knight d2, h4 is met by knight f3, and if knight g4, then again knight d2, and if queen h5, once again we are just in time, not getting checkmated, and because of the queen side we are still better. We have ideas like bringing the queen over to c5, d6, and so on. But again, these lines are pretty complicated, and I believe unnecessary to go for this. But yeah, before I liked another move, I really wanted to make this a6 work, because that's a very principled move. But the solution, which I believe gives white a very nice advantage, is also pretty instructive. So basically the thing here is that it's not so easy for black to make his next move in some sense. Because what exactly he wants, so this knight g3 is a mistake, as we as we concluded. But it can be some kind of a traffic jam for black pieces on the king side if you find the correct place. And also, what we are really missing sometimes after a6, and let's say the b pawn moves, that it would be very good because the c6 pawn is weakened. It would be very good in combination with the knight, which could jump to e5. And this knight on e2 is like perfectly placed for f3, e4 ideas, but yeah, that's not happening at this moment. So if we combine these two ideas, then there is this king h1 move, which is at first a little bit hard to understand, but once we look a little bit deeper into the position, it's just extremely strong. So my favorite is that if black goes to knight f6, then we go a6 first. So now it's a much safer option because the knight cannot attack from b8. And black plays b5 again, and then now this very nice move, knight to g1. So this is one of the ideas of king h1 the main idea to make this square available for the knight, and now the knight can jump like f3 and e5. And if you see these pieces, they are like really in each other's way, and it's not clear how black can create anything. So for example, if knight e4 trying to do something, then simply knight f3, queen goes to e7, for example, and knight e5, and black is already losing material here. So this is not very good. Another move which is logical is g6, because this move helps in bringing the bishop to f5 and maybe putting this knight back to g7. But once again, now a6 is much stronger because the position changed just a little bit, and that's enough for a6 to be super strong in this moment. So b takes a6 is the same, b6 is the same. Those are not good moves, but b5 is critical again. But now we can play queen c2. Only question, knight b8 once again. If black tries to finish this plan with knight g7, moving the knight and playing bishop f5, he's simply not in time. We just play knight to a2 and then knight to b4. And yeah, the knight is protecting the pawn attacking here, so that's just very bad. So knight b8 is the question, and now f4 is incredibly strong for white. And here comes g6 into the picture. So now the queen has to move, and now f5. So g6 gave a hook for a very strong initiative, and once you look at black's pieces, it's not surprising that it is pretty dangerous. So black absolutely have to try to keep the king side close, so g5 is logical, and now e4 also very logical, trying to open the possession and force the issue. So basically black is taking here after knight e4, the game is pretty much over. So black's pieces are not in the game, and he has weaknesses. The king is also weak. But there is b4. And here comes another very spectacular and beautiful idea. So if you move the knight, it's again not good. Or it's like, after d4, we have to play something like bishop c4. We have compensation, but it's a little bit unclear, because if bishop e4, then there is b3. And suddenly it's not easy. The bishop is loose, a6 pawn can be loose. So it's not so good. But fantastic move here is e5. In a previous video, I believe it was in the Hare Krishna game, we already see a full exchange sacrifice. Yes, I believe it was the Hare Krishna game on c1. And now we see a full piece sacrifice for this huge center. So yeah, this is a very nice, very nice concept. So black, of course, accepts the piece, and then queen takes on c3. And not only white has full compensation for the piece, actually, it's a clear advantage. Once again, I can highlight these pieces which are not really participating in the game. Basically, only this knight is not on the back rank, but maybe it would be much better for black if it would be actually on the back rank, but it's not. Um, According to the computer, the best move for black is knight f6, and I believe it says a lot about the position. So immediately giving back the material with the weak king and weak c6 pawn and everything. There is a move like f6 trying to do something to undermine the center or maybe blockade the pawns. And okay, computer is saying, okay, let's just play b4 and basically just completely dominate the position. And okay, if you look at the position, it's really not possible to feel that white is down a piece. It looks like a crushing position. We have ideas like g4, h4 on the king side. At any moment, basically, we can play e6 when we see it's suitable, and the pieces cannot really come out from black. So yeah, it's maybe a little bit interesting to play out this position, how it can go, but it's really terrible for black. So yeah, it's a very key variation of this king h1 lines. I hope I showed all the lines I wanted to. Here, okay, there is also knight f8. So the point is that it at least, unlike in the knight df6 variation, it's not stalemating the queen, kind of, but solution is the same for us: a6, b5, and knight g1 again. So the still misplaced knight f3 is coming with knight e5 idea, and black has a worse position. So if you will have such game, I really recommend king h1. It looks like a super unpleasant move to face. Okay, so let's return to the game. a6, b5, knight c1, and knight f6. So it's a little bit the similar problem as in the analysis I showed, that black's pieces are a little bit in each other's way. Of course, now there are big threats like bishop h3, for example. It's huge, but white played a very nice move, bishop e2, and basically that completely stops everything on the king side, and c6 pawn remains weak. And now the knight from c1 can go towards the e5 square. So b4 was played in the game. It doesn't help, but it's already a very difficult position. So for example, bishop h3, bishop f3, it's nothing. Knight will just come in the next move. And if bishop f5, with the idea of stopping knight d3, actually we don't even have to care about it that much. Black's knights are completely misplaced, and we have another knight to do the job on the queen side. So b4, knight a4, knight g4. Black is trying to create some threats connected with sacrifices on e3, so we just protect. Knight hf6. Now he wants to come from e4. Knight c5. Very nice play from white. And again, simply it's impossible to create threats, so it's protected. If black tries some queen h4, then h3 even traps the knight on g4, which is pretty funny, and actually it's already a threat at this moment to trap the knight. So black went knight e4, knight takes on e4, took with the pawn. Taking with the rook is not better at all. We can immediately eliminate that knight, and after rook g4, thanks to f3, we answer with a counter threat, and let's say rook h4, knight e2. Good knight versus bad bishop, good structure versus extremely weak pawns. The position is losing for black. So d4 was played, and white took that weak pawn on b4, queen h4, and queen d6, also pretty nice defensive move. h5, knight b3. The position is completely lost. Bishop e6, knight c5, knight is beautiful there, bishop d5, and queen g3. So really nothing was working for black, because now it's either a queen trade or the queen has to go back. I mean, to g5, then h3 is winning, and if queen goes back more, then one more pawn is folding. So he decided to trade g5, but yeah, without queens, of course, it's nothing serious here. Rook c1, king g7, rook a5, f5, trying to go for f4, knight b7. There were many good solutions, of course. It's not surprising. And for white, but what he did in the game is perfectly good. So f4, he just accepted, e3. So now, of course, for a second, we have to be careful not to allow any activity for the black pieces, but the move is easy, f3. Keep it closed, knight h6, knight f5 is coming. So bishop d3, rook e7, rook e1, rook f8, and one last nice move from white kind of clinched the game. It's bishop to e4, using the fact that on bishop takes e4 we have rook e3, and because of the pin, black cannot move the bishop. So rook takes f4 was played, and now takes, knight f5, knight d6, further simplifications. Black is down 2 pawns and really cannot do much. Rook f6, rook d5, rook takes f6 was also winning. Rook d5, rook a6 takes, rook b6, rook e2, keeping the 2 extra pawns, rook b3, and now offering the trade from c3. So basically the plan is to connect these pawns, and after this, it's an elementary technical win. King f1, rook moves, king e2, and eventually we will take e3 if we want, or just start pushing the pawns. So it's a very, very convincing win from white in this game. Especially bishop e2 was a nice move, and after that I would even say that it was pretty straightforward and even very, very hard to improve anywhere from black. But it doesn't mean that this queen g5 is not a serious move. Once again, as the game went, I believe here knight b8 would have been a very interesting fight. So overall, I recommend king h1, where it looks pretty tough for black to find anything, and this knight g1, knight f3 is a quite antidote to this queen g5 idea. Thanks a lot for watching, and I hope to come with a new video very soon.